Imagine Harlem in 1953, hot streets, loud music, and one mistake that almost started a war. A mistake that made 10 men pray for mercy they would never get. This is the story of how 10 men tried to kidnap the wrong brother, and how Harlem learned there are lines you never cross, not even for money. The night begins calmly. Billy Johnson, younger brother of Bumpy Johnson, stands outside a small record store on 125th Street. He is holding a bag of jazz records and smiling at people walking by. Billy is not a gangster. He is not a fighter. He just loves music. He stays far from the street life. He knows his big brother Bumpy lives in a world of deals, politics, danger, and respect. Billy wants none of it. This makes him loved in Harlem. People call him Good Heart Billy because he treats everyone with kindness. But 10 men from outside Harlem look at Billy and do not see any of that. They only see a way to get money. They only see a chance to scare Bumpy Johnson and make him back down. They do not know history. They do not know loyalty. They do not know Harlem protects its people. They only think about quick cash and fast power. If you are enjoying this story so far, like and subscribe so you do not miss what happens next, because it gets worse and more intense. The 10 men watch Billy from inside a car. They think this will be easy. They whisper to each other that Bumpy will pay anything to get his brother back. They laugh like they already won. But in Harlem, the street always watches, and the street never forgets. Before the men even open the car door, 2 boys on bicycles see them and ride off fast. They know trouble when they see it. Then one of them says, "We gotta tell somebody." By the time the 10 men step out of the car, the story has already started moving through Harlem like smoke. And smoke always leads to fire. The plan looked simple. Grab Billy, hide him, and ask for money. But nothing is simple when you touch family, and nothing is easy when Harlem is watching. The 10 men make their move, not knowing they just changed their lives forever, and not in the way they hoped. Billy is locking the record store gate when he feels a hand grab his shoulder. At first, he thinks someone wants directions. Then he sees the truck door open and a bag coming toward his face. Billy fights, but he is outnumbered. People across the street stare for 1 second, shocked by how fast it happens. Then the truck door slams and the engine roars away. Within 10 minutes, the barber knows, the bartender knows, the preacher knows, and kids in the playground know. In Harlem, news moves faster than police cars. Police try to get answers, but nobody saw anything. Nobody knows anything. Nobody says anything. Not because they are scared, but because Billy is one of theirs. Right here in the middle, if you are still watching, leave a comment saying Harlem remembers to let me know you are following the story. Back in the truck, the kidnappers laugh. They slap Billy on the shoulder and tell him to relax. Billy does not cry. He stares at the floor and stays quiet. He knows his brother. He knows Bumpy does not cry either. He does not shout. He does not show fear. He makes other men fear instead. One of the kidnappers says, "Bumpy will pay. Trust me." Another answers, "Yeah, and after he pays, he will leave Harlem alone." They believe this because they do not understand respect. They do not understand that Harlem is not just blocks of buildings. It is people who survived pain and built something strong. You cannot buy that. You cannot scare that. You cannot steal that. And while the truck disappears into East Harlem, someone in a smoky bar whispers to Bumpy Johnson, "They got Billy." Before Bumpy Johnson even speaks, Harlem is already moving. The streets have rules, and rule number 1 is simple. You do not touch family. The kidnapping spreads through the neighborhood, and the city learns how fast Harlem can close its doors when one of their own is taken. Bumpy Johnson is sitting at Perdito's bar drinking coffee. He is not laughing, not talking, just thinking like he always does. Then the message arrives. A young runner leans close and whispers in his ear. For a moment, there is silence. Even the music feels like it stops. Bumpy puts down his cup and stands up slowly. The bartender watches him. Everyone in the room watches him. They know something heavy just happened. Outside, Harlem is already at work. Shop owners pretend not to see the police. Old women in church hats shake their heads and say, "Lord, protect that boy." Young men stand on corners watching cars, watching faces, watching everything. They know Bumpy will want answers, and they will make sure he gets them. In the center of this video, here's your moment to hit subscribe so you don't miss how Bumpy responds, because it will shock you how calm he stays. The kidnappers do not know they have started a war. They think this is business. They think they can pressure Bumpy and get rich. But Harlem does not work like that. Harlem respects power, but loves loyalty. Billy is loved. Billy listens when old men talk. Billy buys candy for kids who have no money. Billy carries groceries for old ladies. When someone like that gets taken, it is not a crime anymore. It is disrespectful. And disrespect does not fade. It burns. While the kidnappers argue about ransom demands, Bumpy walks into a back room and closes the door. Nobody hears what he says. Nobody needs to. When he comes out, men start moving. Phones start ringing. Harlem gets ready. Quiet, fast, and serious. Bumpy does not panic. He does not scream. He does not beg. He hunts. And he does it his way. The kidnappers think they can hide in East Harlem, but Bumpy has eyes everywhere. And Harlem gives him everything he needs. Bumpy meets with 4 men he has trusted for years. They sit at a table with no lights and no noise. Bumpy speaks softly because power does not need volume. He tells them to find names, places, cars, and motives. He tells them to move clean and fast. They nod and leave without asking questions. An hour later, 2 small-time Italians are found at a diner bragging that some uptown boy got snatched. They are taken outside and questioned. They do not last long before spilling names. This is not because they are weak. It is because they know stories about Bumpy Johnson. Stories that make them sweat. If you are still here, comment the word loyalty so I know you are watching till this point. By midnight, Bumpy has 10 names. 10 men who made the worst decision of their lives. He also has the location, a basement apartment in East Harlem. This is all he needs. He calls for a car and tells his men, "Not yet." They ask why. Bumpy answers, "Panic makes mistakes. We wait. They will show their fear soon." Inside the basement, Billy sits on a chair, hands tied, eyes calm. He does not beg. He does not cry. One kidnapper asks him, "You ain't scared?" Billy says, "Why? My brother will come." The men laugh, but their laughter is thin. Fear is starting to settle in. They just do not know it yet. Down in a dark basement, 10 men think they hold power. But real power is not who holds the ropes. It's who the city fears. Billy Johnson sits tied to a chair, but the kidnappers are the ones who start to panic. Because fear walks in circles before it bites. Billy keeps his eyes open. He studies every face in the room. He sees who is nervous, who is angry, who is unsure. One of the kidnappers, a tall man with shaky hands, whispers that they should let Billy go. He heard someone say Bumpy Johnson will pay back with bullets, not money. The leader, Frankie Lamazzo, slaps the table and tells them to stop acting like babies. He says Bumpy is just a man. He says 10 guns beat 1 man. He says they are in control. But his voice is not as strong as he wants it to be, and everyone can hear that. Billy finally speaks. His voice is quiet, but steady. He says, "My brother does not panic. He does not run. If he comes through that door, this ends fast." The kidnappers look at each other because they do not know if Billy is lying or telling the truth. One of them steps outside to smoke, but people in the building stare at him like he did something wrong. In Harlem, his eyes can speak without words. In the center of the video, this is where you hit like and subscribe so you don't miss how fast things change, because the next moves decide who lives and who does not. Back at Perdito's bar, Bumpy sits with a phone in front of him. He is waiting for one thing: fear. When kidnappers get scared, they make calls. When kidnappers argue, they make mistakes. When kidnappers lose control, the game is already over. And Bumpy knows the game better than anyone else. He sits still, watching the phone as it owes him money. Midnight hits, and the first crack shows. The kidnappers think they are hunters, but hunters become prey when they take the wrong target. Bumpy finally moves, not with guns first, but with strategy, because brains beat bullets when the stakes are high. A lookout is captured near the basement. He tries to run, but Bumpy's men box him in fast. They bring him to a warehouse on 134th Street. He is sweating and shaking, saying he just watches the street and does not know anything. Bumpy holds up one cigarette. He does not yell. He does not push. He just says, "You like breathing? Then carry a message." The lookout nods fast, ready to agree to anything. Bumpy writes one sentence on a small card. He hands it to the lookout and says, "Give this to your boss, right now." The lookout sprints back to the basement. Frankie grabs the card and reads it. His face drains. It says, 12 hours. Let my brother go. After 12, I collect bodies. The room goes silent. Someone whispers, "He knows." Someone else whispers, "He is coming." If you are still watching, drop a comment saying 12 hours so I know you made it this far. Now panic begins. Half the crew wants to leave. They say they did not sign up for war with Harlem. Frankie screams that they will not let go of the only leverage they have. Billy watches them argue and stays calm. He says, "You still think this is about money? My brother does not pay for the family. He pays back." The 12 hours start. Bumpy goes home, changes clothes, and sits in a chair by the window. He lights a cigarette and watches the street like a king watching his kingdom. He counts each hour in silence. He does not need to rush. Fear is already doing its work. When the 12th hour hits, Harlem goes quiet. Not a normal quiet, war quiet. Frankie wants to look strong, but fear makes his hands shake. And when fear shakes a leader, the team crumbles. It is 3 a.m, and the city outside is dark. Frankie checks his watch again and again. He keeps saying Bumpy is bluffing. One kidnapper packs a bag. Another starts praying in Spanish. Someone else vomits in the corner. Billy watches all of this and does not look scared because he knows how his brother works. Bumpy is not coming early. He is not coming late. He is coming exactly at 12 hours. Exactly at 3:15, the power on the block shuts off. The lights go black. Fans stop. Radios die. The basement goes silent. Someone whispers, "That's not normal." Then car engines are heard, but not loud ones, smooth ones. Cars that move like they have purpose. If you have not yet, subscribe so you do not miss how this ends, because the ending hits harder than Frankie ever expected. A boot connects with the basement door. The lock breaks. 2 kidnappers fire their guns, hitting nothing. Smoke fills the room. Bumpy's men storm in with speed and control. 2 kidnappers throw their weapons down instantly. One tries to use Billy as a shield, but his hands shake so badly that he misses the grab. Billy ducks low like someone who has seen fights before, but never started one. Frankie fires once toward the door. Bumpy steps in through the smoke and shoots Frankie through the shoulder without blinking. Frankie hits the floor and screams. The other kidnappers freeze. Bumpy says, "You had 12 hours. You used them wrong." His voice is quiet, calm, and final. The rescue is over, but the story is not. 10 men made a choice. Choices come with prices. Harlem counts its lessons, and the city learns one rule that will last for decades. Do not touch Bumpy Johnson's family. Billy is untied and helped outside. He does not brag or talk tough. He just nods and walks to the car. He looks at Frankie bleeding on the floor and says nothing. That silence hurts more than any punch. Frankie begs for a deal. He says it was just business. He says they did not mean harm. He says he can help make peace. Bumpy looks down and says, "You do not kidnap family for business, and peace is not yours to talk about." Frankie is carried out of Harlem and never returns. Some say he moved out of state. Some say he was found in the river. Some say he tried to change his name, but nobody knows, and nobody cares. If you are still watching, leave a comment saying "family first," so I know you made it to the end. The other kidnappers face their own endings. Some flee. Some get caught by police for other crimes. Some vanish like dust in the wind. But none ever tries Harlem again. Billy goes back to the record store. He puts on jazz music and rings up customers like nothing had happened. People walk in and smile. They say, "Good to see you, Billy." He smiles back. The world keeps moving, but New York learns a new rule. A rule spoken quietly in bars, whispered in police stations, and respected by other syndicates. The rule is simple. Bumpy Johnson does not shout. He does not beg. He does not negotiate. He retaliates. And Harlem stands with him when it matters. That is how 10 men learned that power is not about guns or trucks or threats. Power is about who the city will stand behind when things get dark. And Harlem stood behind Bumpy Johnson.